In Danmachi, your soul never truly dies. In the world of Genkai, all people have souls, and naturally, everyone dies someday. When this happens, their souls ascend to Tenkai, the heavens, where they are cleansed by the gods, and placed into the cycle of reincarnation, eventually being reborn as new individuals. On the other hand, there are exceptions, such as gods who collect specific souls, like Freya with her warriors. But here's the kicker. Did you know that a large part of the main cast in Danmachi are reincarnations? Whether it is Belle, Wealth, Ice, Tiona, Lefia or others, many characters in the series are reincarnations of ancient people. And today I'm going to tell you all about it, and all I ask is your subscription and of course a like in the video to support my work and support my channel. Let's start with Belle, whose past life was Argonaut, also known as the first hero, the hero of the beginning. He was the very first person to ever be called a hero in this world, and I find this incredibly poetic because just as Argonaut was the first hero, Belle Chronel, his reincarnation, will be the last one. Personally, I really enjoy this parallel between the two characters. And well, beyond the whole hero team, there are many similarities between them. For instance, both have connections with Minotaurs, their pursuit of heroism and more. Argonaut embarked on grand adventures during his youth, and after completing his first journey, saving the princess and defeating the monster, albeit at a high cost, he was consecrated as the hero of the beginning, creating the era of heroes. Afterward, it is said he had other adventures and eventually disappeared. And well, if Belle is his reincarnation, it's clear that Argonaut met his end at some point, of course. Next we have Wealth's past life, which is quite interesting because he's the reincarnation of Crotso, the man who started his family and whose legacy he inherited. Crotso was the first man in the Crotso lineage, acquiring the power to forge magic swords after sacrificing himself to protect a spirit, who later saved him. Upon being saved by the spirit, Crotso gained a unique ability to craft magic swords through the spirit's blessing, becoming a blacksmith capable of creating extraordinary weapons. Later, he encountered Argonaut, just as Belle eventually met Wealth, and Crotso even created the magic sword that Argonaut used against his enemies. This shows that not only did Wealth reincarnate within the same family, but he also followed a very similar path to his ancestor. Now, Ryu's past life was named Ryulu, and surprisingly, she was known as one of the three great poets of the past. And yes, friends, Ryu was a poet in her past life. Hard to believe, right? Unlike the Elves we are familiar with, serious, arrogant and focused, Ryulu was quite laid back, especially when it came to half-elves, who are generally despised by regular elves. She believed this prejudice went against the will of gods, since otherwise, elves won't be able to have children with humans or other races. Ryulu's goal was to turn everything she experienced, saw and heard into music, singing to bring hope to those around her. She had no desire to fight or become a hero, she just wanted to sing. To say the least, she was a free spirit, even going so far as to disobey the order from the elven royalty, something no elf would dare to do so. And one major difference between her and Ryu is that Ryulu had a complex about her small chest. She hated when people mentioned it, and wasn't afraid to resort to violence if necessary. Lefia in her past life was Fina, the adopted sister of Argonaut, who adventured alongside him in his time. And if you're not familiar with Lefia, it's because she's part of the Loki familia and appears more often in the spin-off Sword Duratoria. Fina was a serious person, largely because she spent much of her time cleaning up the mess Argonaut caused, which taught her how to handle chaotic situations. Originally, she was born in a regular town as a half-elf, but while her city accepted half-breeds, discrimination against them still existed, forcing her to remain confined in her home out of fear. But one day, her town was attacked by monsters, and she lost her parents. However, Argonaut found and saved her, taking her as his adopted sister. And as a half-elf, Fina could use magic even without fauna, a trait common among elves. However, she was an exception, capable of wielding fire, ice, lightning, healing and powerful offensive spells. And I believe Lefia's current magic abilities are likely influenced by her past life as Fina, because it's very similar. Now, Ice's past life was Ariadne, and our sword princess was once a princess of Lacrios, a great nation of that era. Although a princess, Ariadne initially disliked the heroes or anyone who called themselves one. This was because, even in those times, many so-called heroes succumbed to the fame and wealth, becoming corrupt and mediocre, and for the same reason Ariadne also disliked her father. Of course, over the course of history, she underwent significant changes. After all, a lot happened. She met Argonaut, who saved her sister and broadened her perspective of the world, and later she became the Queen of Lacreos, initiating the plans to eliminate the threat posed by monsters. And Bat is also a reincarnation, and his past life was Yuri, who unsurprisingly shares many traits with the werewolf. Yuri didn't like weak people, but praised them when they did things right, much like Bat does now. He was a person of good character, with strong principles, and someone who would never betray a companion. And in one situation, even knowing he would be captured and killed, he helped Argonaut to escape alive in course of his life. Yuri also had a tragic past filled with losses, which shaped his ideals and morals. Above all, he was a formidable fighter, and as a werewolf, he could transform during the night, making him even more powerful, and he would later be known as a hero. Now, Tiona is a reincarnation of Ona, one of the princes of Lacreos, and the one who wrote the tales of Argonaut to pass on to future generations. Like Riolu, she was one of the 3 great poets, and was also Ariadne's half-sister. Alongside Ariadne, Ona disliked the concept of heroes, as her father, the king, created false heroes to serve as his pawns, only for them to become corrupt through fame and wealth. Ona had a strong sense of responsibility toward her people and wished to do more for them, which led her to despise her own weakness. She was the princess that Argonaut risked his life to save in a battle against the Minotaur, and after adventuring alongside the Argonaut, Ona fell in love with him, developing a deep bond with the hero, bond that some people believe exists until today. Lily, on the other hand, is a reincarnation of Fianna, the legendary Palom warrior. Fianna was the captain of the Fianna Knights, a legendary warrior who inspired Paloms across the world. Her name resonated so greatly in this world that she was even revered as a goddess by the Paloms for a long time, until the actual gods descended to Genkai. She was a hero who lived in the same era as Argonaut, though she was never officially titled as a hero. However, in exchange, she became known as a goddess, which seems a fair trade. Fianna slew countless monsters to save lives. Riding her steed, she was a saint who showcased unparalleled bravery, serving as a symbol of glory for the Paloms, a race often considered weak. Fianna was an incredible powerful warrior who had a contract with the spirit Finnegas, granting her an ability called Spear of Bloody Fury, and this power stemmed from her soul, even without fauna. In that era, without a fauna, she was equivalent to a level 5 or 6 adventurer by today's standards. So yeah, she was incredible powerful. And if Tiona's is a reincarnation, Tione is as well, with her past life being Elmina, Ona's adopted sister. Elmina was raised as the king's assassin, serving as his shadow and faithfully carrying out his orders. She lacked emotions and didn't care about the people, but thanks to Ona, someone she grew to care for deeply, Elmina began to change her way of life. This was because Ona was the only one person who treated her like a real person. Elmina was an exceptionally powerful warrior, who later became known as Elshana, a legendary heroine. And Finn, in his past life, was Dim, one of the proud knights of Fianna, who later became the second leader of the group after the original leader's fall. And when this happened, he changed his name to Finn, and later he participated in the first ever expedition into the dungeon, becoming part of the first group in history to delve into the depths of the dungeon. Dim, or Finn, would go on to be revered as a legendary hero by the future generation, and the Findame we know took his name in homage to this legendary figure. In the past, Jim was saved by Fianna and through her joined the organization, and upon becoming its leader, he inherited the Spear of Blood Fury and the contract with the spirit Finnegas, becoming a warrior as formidable as his predecessor. And interestingly though, the fury accumulated in the Spear of Bloody Fury was so intense that it carried over into Jim's future lives, even even influencing the Fendane we know today, who wields the Hell Finnegas, a skill that have his origins in the Spear of Bloody Fury. Lyra, on the other hand, is the reincarnation of Helga, the vice-captain of the Knights of Fianna, who was deeply in love with Dim, so he constantly avoided her, and this dynamic persists in the present day, with Lyra showing interest in Finn, while he avoids her at all costs, instinctively feeling the need to stay away from her. And Helga's personality was strikingly similar to Lyra's. She was a brilliant strategist who wasn't afraid to play dirty to secure victory. Gareth is a reincarnation of Garham's, an honorable dwarven warrior, who insists on asking his opponent's names even if he didn't like them. Garham's became a hero to reclaim Honda, which had long ago been overtaken by monsters. He was unwavering loyal to his comrades, as demonstrated when he helped Argonaut escape in a time of need, fabricating excuses to facilitate the hero's retreat. Garham's was also an immensely powerful warrior, known for his incredible strength and resilience. Now we have a few more individuals who were also parts of Knights of Fianna, starting with Balin, Grandeval and Alf, the Gulliver brothers from the Freya family, who were also Palums and Knights of Fianna in the past, being known for their strength and skill. There's also Meryl, a current member of Hermes' Familia. Even Luan, who belonged to the Apollo family, was once a Knight of Fianna. However, he was part of the second generation of knights, and he later retired to become a historian. And of course, we have Asterios and all the Xenos, since the Xenos are the reincarnation of the monsters who dies into the dungeon, and eventually in the cycle of reincarnation they gain intelligence. So although not from the past like the heroes, all the Xenos are reincarnations too. And by the way, did you know that Tiona is practically a female version of Belle, following in the footsteps of her past life by adoring the histories of the heroes? In this video you can check out everything about it, so stay in the channel and keep watching. And that is for now, see you soon and I'm out.